Now, Love News is learning that authorities of Ejisuman Senior High School are threatening to sack or deboardinize students they suspect to have revealed widespread sexual abuse by their teachers. JoyNews carried a report last week in which students revealed they had told the committee of teachers that teachers forced them to stroke their manhood to ejaculate. Following the report, school authorities are said to have hauled some of the students before a disciplinary committee, threatening them with sanctions. Parents are protesting the action and calling on government to intervene. Erastus Asaridonko has more in the following report.
Students of Ejisuman Senior High School have been given explicit accounts of how some of their teachers subjected them to sexual abuse.
He told me he wasn't satisfied, so I should take his penis in my mouth. Then I refused. So he told me to spit in my hand and use it to masturbate him. Then after that, he released.
Into your hands?
Yeah, he did.
Came from his house to a junction. He parked. He asked me that, why don't I want to have sex with him? And I told him, oh, I can't do that.
They shared their stories, hoping they would get justice in a peaceful environment to learn and prepare for their final exams. On the contrary, they have become subjects of ridicule and victimization in school. Some have reportedly suffered physical abuse for minor offenses. Those who shared their stories with us have been hauled before a disciplinary committee. Their fate will be determined today as authorities threaten them with dismissal or deboardinization. Parents are scandalized and they want government to intervene.
Government should come to my aid. Even if she could be transferred to another school to be able to write her final exam, I will be okay with that. Because she's been victimized, they say she will be dismissed for breaking school rules. But the teacher who should be directing her path has rather introduced her to fornication. I feel very bad. I can't sleep.
Municipal and regional education officials will not speak to the issue. District Director of Education will not confirm or deny of reports of the alleged victimization of suspected students. He threatens to drag us to the National Media Commission over the interview with the students. Public Relations Officer at the Regional Education Directorate confirms such reports have come to the attention of the Directorate, but he cannot give details. Meanwhile, the investigative committee is expected to submit its report to the educational authorities today. Reporting for JoyNews, Erastus Asaridonko, Kumasi.
Let's have a conversation about this as well. Bright Up here is here in the studio with me. He's a child rights activist. Bright, thank you very much for coming. Good afternoon to you. I'm sure you've heard this story already.
Yes.
Well, first time you heard it, how did you feel about it?
Yeah, well, I think that when I heard it, what I said was that these girls are very bold, looking at where they are and the things that happen to them on a daily basis. For them to be bold enough to step out and say that this is what is happening to them, I think that it is a bold step, because there are instances where you see children go through those things, but they find it very difficult to speak out on it. Because of the victimization and all that. So if they've broken all the barriers to speak to the issues, I think that is a very fine step that we have to build on. But whatever it is, I think that we have to fight for these children.
Because being bold has come with a cost.
Exactly, exactly. And that is what, for me, we have to deal with. Because for somebody who is going to abuse, to come out and say that is what is happening, of course, we need to also ensure that we give them the supporting system. We put the supporting systems in place. So
and that's where I worry personally as a female. That's where I worry personally, because we sort of have a certain culture in this country that makes it very difficult for young people to speak. Sometimes it becomes your word, not even sometimes, most of the time it's the word of the young person against that of the older person. It seems as if these young girls are going to be caught in between. They're going to be caught in that web. And I'm wondering, how can they get out of that web when they're just learning that they're going to be deboardinized? victimization going on right
Yeah,
now?
well, I don't think that anybody, any authority in the school would have that right to say that they want to send them home because of this particular issue. Because, first of all, it is required that the environment will be protected for the interest of children. So if the authorities are not doing that and children go through all this to the extent that they have to come out the way they came out, then it means that beyond looking at the substantive issue, there are structural issues that you also have to look at in terms of how the authorities are taking care of children within that environment. So everybody is at fault once we get or we confirm that such an act took place and what they are complaining about is something that we need to investigate. Then probably we need to put some of these things to rest as to whether they can say that they have to go. But I don't think that they do. And if they go ahead to do that, I think that we have taken the step to go to the aid of these girls that has mastered the courage to do that and then ensure that we protect them. They go to their school environment safely and nothing happens to them. And anybody who wants to take action against them, we would also sort to the appropriate forum to seek for the interest of these children. Because for me, I have had an encounter with children who have complained to me. But when you ask them to take it further, they find it very difficult to do that. But for them to do this, I think that we'd have to look for them and then see how we can also support them, because this will be the beginning of unveiling most of the things that happens to children in the school.
And you did mention that if we are able to confirm, you've dealt with a lot of children and you've dealt with a lot of these cases. To what extent can you guess that these children or these young people are not telling the truth?
Yeah, well, when you deal with children, there are different levels that you can deal with them to also ascertain the truth and all that. Clearly, there are certain signs that comes with it that children themselves do not know whether it is harassment. But once you have engagement with them, you will deduce that what happens to them is harassment. And there are some children who are also aware of the things that they do, teachers do to them and all that. And also based on the kind of education that they've gotten, they also sense it in terms of the signal, the signs that teachers give and all that. And sometimes they respond to it. And for a child to come and say that my teacher is doing this, I've seen a lot of text messages, that serious text messages from the teacher, from teachers to teachers to students, demanding certain things from them and all that. So on that basis, you cannot say that this child is.
So personally, you were not surprised?
No, I'm not surprised at all.
Yeah, but and you think it's on a scale of 1 over 10, you say on a scale of 10, you say that there are 90 or 9%.
Of course. I can say that 99% of the things that children are saying they are just establishing something that has been in the system for a while. And for them, you see, what we have to focus on is the courage of these children to report these issues and all that, because it goes on. It happens in secondary schools and primary schools and all that. And even at the basic school, you see some of these things happening to children.
The courage you would admire and commend, but when the courage comes with such a high cost that they cannot bear, that they cannot bear, then others won't be encouraged to speak up as well.
That is why we are saying that we want to support them to build that supporting system for them to be able to go through the system without any victimization, which we are ready to do that, so that a lot of children would have that courage to report a lot of issues, because now we are going to open avenue for children to report such issues and we will deal with it without their involvement and all that. And if we know that the teacher has sent them text messages through WhatsApp or whichever medium, they should forward it to us and we'll follow it up and then deal with the issue the way we have to deal with it. Because we need to protect that environment for the well-being of children. So we have sent our team to Kumasi to also interact with it and then meet the appropriate authorities so that we can address this issue immediately. And then see how best these children that they have been victimized, we go to their rescue. And any teacher that is involved in this, and if we establish a case, probably the ones that would have to let GES deal with, we would let them go ahead and deal with that.
Speaking of the GES, it's been a while since we broke this story. We haven't heard from them.
That is the issue, and I personally have issue with GES in terms of how they are safeguarding the school environment for the well-being of children. And I'm saying this because when you go to the Code of Conduct for Teachers, in schools, you see the holes that have been created or the avenue that have been created for teachers to perpetuate some of these things that they are doing. And we are not saying that every teacher goes to that kind of thing, but there are teachers that also engage children in this kind of thing. Take advantage of it and all that.
Would you say, if we should look at the bigger picture, that it's because of the poor structure that we have for some of these girls to be able to come out boldly? Because I volunteered as a TA when I was learning in the UK, and the moment even before we went on that volunteer program, they took us through 2 weeks of training, and child protection was key. In fact, it's number one. And when you get into the school, the first thing they hand you is a child protection policy. And you have to study it. You can't be in a room alone with any of the students at any time. This is the structure that has been put in place, and it's helping them to protect these children. You could say that some of these things would happen, but if it happens, the sort of response, it's been I think it's been a week. We haven't heard anything from the Ghana Education Service, nothing from the Ministry of Education, and I don't think that we have this supporting system, like these protective systems. I don't know if there has been any advocacy on this particular area, child protection policies in Ghana, and whether or not your organization is doing anything.
Well, we have the Children's Act, which is the basis for the development of any of the policy relating to children. And we have the Child and Family Welfare Policy now, which is also looking at some of these things, establishing relationships, and then ensuring that the family takes out the responsibility, and then the community becomes the owners of things that happen to children in the environment and all that. So all these things are there. But the issue also is that it's because it's a Child and Family Welfare Policy and it's situated within a particular ministry, other ministries do not see the need to buy into it. And that is what, for me, we'd have to begin to sell the document for other ministries to recognize that they can also derive their strength in terms of drafting policies. If you're in a ministry and your work relates to the welfare of children, then you should try as much as possible to buy into that particular policy and see how you can also design or tailor your policies in respect to the thing that happens to children. And for me, one basic example is Ghana Education Service. You don't see that reflection when it comes to child protection policy, even in the code of conduct, even the counseling and the guidance, the way and manner they will conduct themselves. They've learned how to do counseling. They are professionals. But beyond the professionalism, or beyond you being a professional person, there's also a procedure that you also have to know in terms of having engagement.
And times have changed.
Exactly.
At the time you were younger, the things that you did or the things you didn't do are really different from the kind of things that
so you have to
young
learn the
people
new
of today are
ways of
exposed to.
engaging with young people to understand it. And that is a continuous learning. So we cannot just say that the policy that we have in 5 years will be able to address the needs of today. So they have to be on top of issues, which of course we will push them, because the school environment is the only environment defined by law for training of our children. So if anything goes wrong in that environment, then you can imagine the turnout in the future. So we are interested in this case, and I can assure you that we are going to take this matter and scale it up, and whatever the outcome may be, we would ensure that we will let you know.
Based on your experience, how will you say other young people in schools all over the country can be encouraged to come out and speak? If you look at the Me Too movement, for example, one person comes out and tell their story, and the next thing, everybody seems to have a story. And I'm sure that a lot more students across the country have their own stories to tell. Recently, we saw this kitchen stew thing that everybody seemed to be joking with it. And this is a really serious matter. I don't know how you feel about it, but how can we encourage our young people to come out if they're facing some of these abuses?
Yeah, we're trying to open an avenue for that. The one is we're going to open a WhatsApp line for children to send conversations that they've had with teachers in respect to this kind of activities. Children who have been harassed by a teacher one way or the other, to report that. We're going to do that on Facebook, we're going to do that on WhatsApp, and there are certain communities. Currently we are working in about 354 communities now. So we're going to establish that system in those places so that children can report some of these things to us. Once we're able to get a certain number, then we can generalize it and then move in terms of the intervention that we want to provide. And we'll continuously open that avenue for children to report issues. And what I would tell our young people is that if they go to any abuse, sexual harassment, they should master the courage to report this irrespective
Maybe
of the
you should break down what sexual abuse is. Like you're saying, some of them are not even aware that this is wrong. They don't know that if your teacher asks you to do this, all they know is that he's my teacher or he's my master. They don't really understand. So maybe some of them don't know.
Well, the sexual abuse, if you're a child and you feel that your teacher, be it a male or female, looks at you in a certain way that communicate to you that the teacher is putting a demand on you from from a sexual point of view, it's sexual harassment to the extent that if you don't feel comfortable, it's sexual harassment. If your teacher sends you to go and fetch something for him or her and touches the vital part of your body, that is the breast, your buttocks, and certain vital part of the body.
Why are you leaving the other one out?
He said, you know, we are.
No, I know.
I'm not leaving it out.
And I think that, and I can understand the cultural limitation you have. But I think that these are. Don't you think that these are some of the things that we need to be open about and get them to know? If you say the vital parts, okay, so the teacher touches the breast, the teacher touches the buttocks, but doesn't touch the vagina, for example. And they think that it's okay.
You know, I'm coming to, you know, the sexual harassment has to do with this part.
Okay.
But when it comes to having a sexual intercourse with a child, that's where the vagina also comes in.
No. They don't. But we've seen over the years that it's not. They don't just have sex with the girls.
It's true.
They're touching them all over the place.
I agree with you. So if you see a teacher touching your breast, your teacher touching your vagina in any form or shape, your buttocks, please report it to us and we'll be ready to take action on those issues.
And I hope that our young people have heard it really, and I hope that they're taking some cue. When are you putting out the WhatsApp line, though?
Yeah, by Wednesday we'll have a press conference on it, announcing the steps that they are going to take, and then beyond that we would open up the WhatsApp line and then our Facebook for the conversation. How
are children who are going to bring their stories going to be protected, their identities?
We as organization, we have always protected the interests of children. Their identity will never be known. Their privacy will be recognized. So they should be bold enough to report to us.
Okay, be bold to report. And if you look at what's happening across the world, young people are standing up for themselves. And this is a time for you young people to stand up for yourself here in this country. Do not be afraid. And when they say, if you report, you will die, I'll kill you, they're telling you lies. Stand up for yourself and speak for yourself. Right. Thank you very much. And unfortunately, I've been doing part of your work. I personally get very passionate about this because I know stories where people don't know that what the teacher is doing is wrong, and they get away with it. Right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And we're looking forward to that WhatsApp line. Maybe some adults to have some reports to put through. Right, Sophia is a child rights activist. He's been at this for a very long time, and he's saying that what we actually need to hear from the GES. We understand they're not speaking until they get a confirmation from the school, and they will be having a meeting on Wednesday. We understand that. Even reminds me, they're going there on Wednesday. And this happened like last week.
For me, it tells you how the system operates. Because when the select committee was interviewed even on Joy, your sister
this morning
station, you clearly say they don't even think.
And I had the chairman say he was.
Exactly.
I had the chairman say the NPP constituency elections are ongoing.
And the Children's Act is so clear that in any matter that concerns children, the best interest of the child should be paramount. So the interests of these children supersede even the election that they are running. So, and I don't see why a session of, or we have the select committee. There are many in that committee. Why can't they even devote about 3 or 4 people to follow up on this matter? But they want to bring a closure to the constituency election before they pay attention to the interests of our children. And for me, it's a misplaced priority. And we need to set the record straight, and we're going to do that.
Misplaced priority. You could say that about a whole lot of things in this country. But well, right. Thank you once again.
Thank you.